Pleasant good night, greetings everyone. Good night to each and every one of you. Tonight we have a very interesting show. We're gonna be discussing some very interesting topics, questions that so many of us might have had in our minds, but we just never asked, or we never find anybody to ask the question to. Tonight I will be joined by Ifásínà Efunyemi, better known as Ifa. She is a member of NGC, National Garifuna Council, and we'll sit down and talk about NGC's role within the Garifuna community or communities, NGC's role in leading the Garifuna people, whatever leadership encompasses, right? So, in just a bit, I'll be joined by my sister Ifa. We're gonna have a lot to talk about, so get ready. If you have questions, enter your questions in the comments. She will be with us in the next 10 minutes, más o menos. But now, you're joined by yours truly, Cyril Uruwei. Uruwei. I am Uruwei. I am king. Before we get into tonight's topic, there was a disturbing video floating around Facebook, if I may call it that. And people have their different views, their thoughts, their sentiments regarding that video. A minor groping behind an adult in carnival. Now, I don't want to get in a problem with nobody and nobody on anything. I believe everybody entitled to do whatever it is that they want to do. However, we have to keep culture in mind. We have to keep tradition in mind. We have to be respectful one toward another. Sometimes it's common sense when it comes to what is accepted overall, right? Sometimes it's easy to get a general consensus as to what people accept and what people don't, or what is acceptable. So that situation with that child groping behind an adult, I want to get your take on it, right? I want to hear your sentiments. I want to know what you're thinking before we get into all that. And let me remind you, we are also on YouTube. So if you guys want to connect to YouTube, put it on your flat screen TV and make it a family affair. All right? Join me tonight with Ifásínà Efunyemi. She's going to join me tonight, and we're going to have a lot to talk about regarding NGC's role, NGC's position in leading the Garifuna people, leading us economically, leading us socially. We're going to talk about all that and more. So hang tight, don't go anywhere, stay with me. In the meantime, between time, I'm going to share some helpful, useful videos of our entrepreneurs here in the South. Connect with me when I come back. What did you order?
I got jerk chicken, I want for the bag, but that's what sent me to sleep.
He insists we come back, that is Ella's again, for 퐐퐞 again. So we had 퐐퐚 last night, and now we have 퐐퐚 today again.
I'm here in Uganda Hopkins, and if you don't know who this woman is, then
I don't know. You're probably not from Belize. Ella, greetings, my dear.
Greetings.
Whenever I see you, I go back to one of the first times I saw you. It was at a Mango Fest when you were just starting out. I'm going to that segment of your life. But before that, who's Ella?
Well, Ella is this young, beautiful black Garifuna woman from Hopkins, originally from Hopkins. Yeah, I grew up here and I'm a businesswoman.
Your business has burgeoned from a barbecue grill and attached all the way. Now you have what you have.
Yes.
At one point or any point in your life, you ever thought to yourself and say, you know what, one day I'm gonna have this establishment. Did you ever visualize this, or now you're at this point and like, wow, I've come a long way?
Everyone know how I started and how Ella's Cool Spot started to grow, even up to like the big Easter Bash we have and other events. But I never expected that it would blow so big as how it is right now, until when the devastating incident that happened here at Ella's when the business burnt down. You know, that was just a nightmare for me, you know, because when it happened, I was in my bed sleeping. You know, it was a crazy nightmare, honestly, when I saw my place engulf fire, you know, and I wouldn't thought that I will bounce back so quick and rebuild back and become very bigger than ever, you know, with 2 dining area, 2 bars and big stuff, you know, and God have blessed me with that. And from since the place burnt down to now, we don't have a single slow day, you know, and I get to meet up with all my bills and also pay my employees and also give back to the community. So it's been a huge blessing.
Pull up a car. Because, man, it's real good.
Ella's is awesome. Everything we've had here is fantastic. One of my favorite spots in Hopkins.
The food was great, service was great, everyone was friendly. We had 퐐퐞. The 퐐퐚 was awesome. The mixed drinks were amazing. The bartender was exceptional. So we had a good time.
My favorite part of working at Ella's, being in my kitchen. Okay, I love when I make the 퐐퐚, I love my 퐐퐚. Yes, and the jerk fish, jerk hunks, that's my favorite part.
I gotta say something, best jerk chicken I ever have. Here at Belize, ever. So, big up Ella's, big up the chef, big up everybody.
The key to this is fresh. Make sure everything is fresh and it's authentic food, you know. As you can see, we have our coconut grater. So we grate our coconut every single day. So we use fresh coconut every day. Plantain, you know, we go back to the roots. So we use breadfruit, plantain, everything authentic. So the food is fresh. Me personally, I don't like no stale food. I like fresh food. So I want people to enjoy what I enjoy.
One last word to the audience. Talk to the camera.
Last word for the audience. I'd like to thank everyone who always been supporting Ella's Cool Spot from day one, you know. Even you haven't reached it, by just sharing word of mouth, because up to the kids, they recommend Ella's Cool Spot. So thanks to everybody who's ever supporting locally, internationally, you know. Thank you all, and I love Unmurted.
Awesome, beautiful. Folks, you've had it. Ella's, it's a privilege. It's an honor to be here sitting with you and just chop it up. Ask you about your journey, about your life, about business. I'm sure you're going to inspire a youth or more out there.
Yes,
Ella, band the ceremony. I appreciate you.
Ceremony over for.
Yeah, man. Respect. What did you order?
I got jerk chicken, you know. I want for the bag, but that's not send me to sleep.
He insists we come back, that is Ella's again, for 퐐퐚 again. So we had 퐐퐚 last night and now we have 퐐횚 today again.
Welcome to J&J's Cool Spot.
J&J's restaurant originally started from a small business by selling dalawap. We have 2 tables, and from 2 tables now we have about 10 tables. The business has grown because of the food that we cook, the food that we prepared. People always give us a feedback. We have one of the nicest food here in Hopkins. So the business has grown and the message has been passing along. We have good feedback way from England, we get feedback way from America, all over the world now we are getting feedback because of the food that we prepared. And our workers, the people who work with us, train them how to treat people, right? Because good customer service, it's also important in making J&J's to where it is now.
Food here at J&J's is really good. It's fresh, top notch to me.
My favorite thing here at J&J Cool Spot is to interact with other customers.
Here at J&J's, it got recommended to us by our tour guide. And you can't beat having a view like this on the beach, right? Right behind you, definitely.
Make sure when you come to J&J's Cool Spot, you ask for the 퐐퐞. Best service, the 퐐퐞. You can eat it with your hand.
My friend brought me here to J&J's restaurant and I love it.
My name is Natasha. Come check me out here at J&J's Cool Spot where we welcome you.
St. Vincent Commerce, St. Vincent Street, across from the old Belize Bank. Come on over to Jenny's Fashion. It's right there on the main on St. Vincent Street, right across the old Belize Bank. Come on over. Ask for what you don't see. Thank you.
I want to promote with locals as well. My sister Jenny, I just want to promote my sister Jenny. I've known Jenny for so many years. She's right here on the main road across Belize Bank. You stop in. If you don't live that Dangriga, go check out what Jenny have. If you don't live that Dangriga and you pop in, you forget on the shoes, you forget on the socks, you forget whatever, go and check out Jenny's. Jenny and hook on up, alright? Respect Abayisi.
Welcome to Jenny's Fashion. Guys, I invite you guys to come see what I have. And if you don't see what you like, just kindly ask me and I will get it for you. And I also want to thank my customers for all the support. Thank you guys. God bless.
Hey,
Greetings from the culture capital, everyone. Listen, at the right downtown Dangriga, I will introduce you to a place where you can look good, buy on slippers, buy on tennis, buy on flip-flops, buy all kind of thing. Good quality at affordable prices. In between Smart and before the main bridge. Make a show you some stuff. Cameraman, camera woman, follow me. This is Rash's fashion, and whenever you pass through, you ask for ram, ask for key, and they were hooking up. What did you order?
I got jerk chicken, you know. I want for the bad, but that's what sent me to sleep.
He insists we come back that is Ella's again for 퐐퐞 again. So we had 퐐퐚 last night and now we have 퐐퐚 today again.
I'm here in Yogada Hopkins, and if you don't know who this woman is, then I don't know, you're probably not from Belize. Ella, greetings, my dear.
Greetings.
Whenever I see you, I go back to one of the first times I saw you. It was at a Mango Fest when you were just starting out. I'm going to that segment of your life, but before that, who's Ella?
Well, Ella is this young, beautiful black Garifuna woman from Hopkins, originally from Hopkins. Yeah, I grew up here and I'm a businesswoman.
Your business has burgeoned from a barbecue grill and attached all the way. Now you have what you have.
Yes.
At one point or any point in your life, you ever thought to yourself and say, you know what, one day I'm gonna have this establishment. Did you ever visualize this, or now you're at this point and like, wow.
Greetings, greetings. Pleasant good night once more to all of you out there, BT Gouillon. Good night, good night, good night to all of you tuned in. This is Dangriga Unmuted every Monday at 8 p.m. Don't forget to tune in, tell your friends, tell your family. Come and join Cyril Uruwei live on Dangriga Unmuted, UBAFUtv. We're also live on not Facebook, but YouTube. We're also live on YouTube as well. So if you don't want to put this on a screen, you have a smart TV, make it a family affair. You know what I mean? Everybody come together and listen to some positive discussion. Right, in just a bit, I'm about to bring on my sister Ifa. How are you guys doing? Happy 10th of September to all of you. Wherever you may be, we had a fire engine parade earlier in Dangriga. Now remember, in just a couple minutes, I have Ifa joining me. If you guys have any questions, any concerns, anything regarding NGC, shoot me a message, inbox, or you could even enter it in the comment section. Let's make sure that we're getting out of here. Can you guys hear me? I'll take that as a yes. Good night, good night, good night, everyone. Pleasant good night. For those of you watching, I'm waiting for my guest. She's running late, so gotta bear some patience. You know, everything not always work out how I want it. You know, when schedule shift, when appointments shift up, we gotta improvise. All right. I was talking about a video that was circulating on Facebook earlier about a minor groping behind an adult. There were so many comments in the comment section of the video that was uploaded, and I read some of the comments, and it baffles me that people find excuses for the things that they want to do, even if it's right, wrong, or immoral. People find excuses. Some people say the little boy just to have fun. Make the little boy have fun. Some people are strict about it, or like they give the reverse and said that what if it was a grown man groping on just doing what that child was doing to that adult. If you flip it around, if it was a grown man doing that to a minor, a female minor, what would be the response? What would be the reaction of the public? I'm sure that man would have been called a pedophile. I'm sure a lot of other adjectives would follow before his name, negative adjectives. So we want to be mindful about what we have our kids doing out in the public, right? We don't want these things to become normalized, right? We don't want to normalize these actions. When people see that on the streets, or even these kids today, maybe that boy's classmate or his age mate in his neighborhood, they see that, they see their classmate going viral at that age, and this has become the thing. Social media has become the thing, right? So they will see that child going viral, and they feel that they want to go viral too. See, these are the kind of domino effect that happens when we do things like that. You know, we can't assume that it's just clean. No, it's not clean fun. There is nothing clean about that, right? I'm talking about the video that was circulating at Carnival since yesterday bringing today. This child just groping behind an adult. We don't want to encourage that sort of thing. You know, that's definitely something we don't want to encourage. I don't know how you guys feel about it. I would love to get your feedback, hear your comment. So good night to all of you once more. Let me check in on my guest, Ifa. All right. All right, folks. I have Ifa joining me in. All right, here she comes. Pleasant good night to all of you. Ifa Biti Gunyon, Biti Gunyon. You're the I'm the happiest person tonight now that you're on with me. You see, because when you plan and then you have a series of things that you want to do, right? So when it not turn out that way, as soon as it start falling into place, you become happy. So this is my moment. Let me, you're not live just yet. So let me add you. Let me add you on. A pleasant good night to all. Pleasant good night. I'm adding Ifa at the moment. So just hang tight. Bear with your brother. Okay. Ifa, they can't hear you, but I can. So how is? No. I'm just checking in on you. All right, good. I am adding your window. Figure. So good night to each and every one of you once more. Just bear some patience. I'll bring on Ifa and then we'll be good to go. Let me make minor adjustments, and then we'll chop it up, get into some deep conversations. Ifa, you have no idea, I've been looking forward to this. And that's a really good thing. That's a good thing. All right, here we are. We're almost there. We're almost there. Here we go. Almost there, folks. Patience is a virtue. Here we go. For those of you online, in the meantime, vibe with me. Tell me where you're from. All right, let me add this here. And then we're good to go, Ifa. Audio. All right, a pleasant good night. Briti Guyon. Good night to each and every one of you. Uruwei. I am Uruwei. This is Dangriga Unmuted. And tonight I have, she's always a special guest, right? Ifa Briti Guyon. It's good to have you. It's good to have you here. Though you're known in the community, in Dangriga, in Belize, I don't want to assume that each and every individual that will be watching tonight will know who you are. So give us the Reader's Digest of who Ifa is.
Reader's Digest. Ifásínà Efunyemi is a Garifuna woman, journalist, educator, human rights defender, writer, poet. I am the voice of the voiceless. I do what I do because it speaks to what I am here for, why I exist in this world. And so my advocacy goes back to as early as my teens, and it actually began with the National Garifuna Council. But I've been involved in other NGOs since, so I'm still involved with the National Garifuna Council, but I am a co-founder of other NGOs. So the Dangriga HIV/AIDS Society, I was a founder of that, the Belize History Association, the Productive Organization for Women in Action. So my advocacy, it really focuses a lot on cultural preservation, on preserving our history, because I love history. It also looks at empowering our community, especially women and girls, but the wider community as well. So the work that I do is far reaching, and I add to that by being in the media as well as being in the classroom. So those are the things that I do. And when people ask me, well, how do I manage it all? I simply say it's a part of who I am, and that is how I manage it. I know that it is what I am supposed to do, and that is why I get joy out of doing all of it.
Very good.
So that's me.
Good, good. Now introduce yourself as a representative for NGC. What is your role in the National Garifuna Council?
Okay, so right now I am the first vice president of the National Garifuna Council. So I am on the executive of the NGC national or headquarters. I am also the first vice president elected earlier this year for the Dangriga branch. And I chair the Hamalali NGC Radio Executive Committee. So those are the roles that I play in the council at this time.
Very good. Whenever I always say iron sharpens iron, right? Whenever we connect, and we had I think you were before last, I think you were my guest, and we had an in-depth conversation. It was one of the episodes that I know people gravitate to. I know it stirs up other conversations, but I'm saying all that to say, behind the scenes, you and I, we also had an in-depth conversation regarding the direction of Garinago here in Dangriga, how we're affected politically, how we're affected socially, economically. And the question of NGC came up. So I want to ask you, right, for those who are not aware, how long has NGC been in existence? And what is the role of NGC when it comes to in relation to the Garifuna people?
In a nutshell, because this organization does many things. It has an article, it's articles of association, and there are numerous objectives of the organization. But in a nutshell, the National Garifuna Council has been in existence. It was established here in Dangriga, as how Mrs. Caetano likes to describe it, in her kitchen. And this happened in 1981, I believe. And then it was registered later on, I think in the late 80s. So because in Belize, the way organizations go, people would get together first for a common cause and start to do work for that cause. But then, of course, the legal aspect comes into play where you have to register. And now it's even more, there's even a lot more strictness when it comes to that, to being established as an organization in Belize. So the articles of association, the memorandum of understanding, those are required documents that you have to submit to the company's registry in order to be registered as a non-government organization. And NGC went further to establishing itself as an NGO by qualifying to become a member of the Belize network of NGOs. And in order to do that, the organization has to be audited, it has to have good standing. And those are key because the reputation of the organization is important. And that's ironic, of course, because people have all manner of things to say about the National Garifuna Council, but it could not maintain its membership. It couldn't even become a member of the Belize network of NGOs or be recognized as an NGO in Belize if it did not meet those requirements. And the audit isn't something that's done in-house. It's not like, even if someone on the executive had some kind of finance expertise, it's not the internal audit. It's not an internal audit. It has to be done by an established auditor. And then they do whatever it is that they're required to do, and they provide that report, and that is the report that gets published and shared with members at the convention. So those are some key legal aspects that need to be complied with by the organization for it to remain as it is the official National Garifuna Council. Now, what it does among the several objectives is promote and uphold Garifuna culture, right? Garifuna economic development. Anything that is in the interest of Garinagu is the interest of the National Garifuna Council. All right. So
it's interesting you said that. Anything regarding Garinagu is in the interest of the National Garifuna Council. I want to somewhat piggyback on that and have that lead me in a somewhat different direction, same NGC. Now, we here in Dangriga, I can say we, right? We look at NGC, most of us, for the most part, look at NGC as the head, as the beacon, as the one organization that's supposed to be championing Garifuna causes, that is supposed to be, as you mentioned earlier, investing in Garifuna Duo, so we could become stronger economically. What have you been doing, you, in terms of NGC? What have NGC been doing to strengthen the Garifuna people economically?
Well, there are several projects. I think it's important for people to understand that as an NGO, the organization, and at least definitely not at this time, does not have any activity that is by itself income generating. There's a lot of work that has to be done in that regard. But it has a school, it has farmland, cassava is planted, there's a cassava demonstration space that was in operation. It needs to be renovated because, of course, if you get assets, you have to maintain assets, and there's a cost to that. Now, what people need to understand is that the organization applies for projects because it's a non-government organization. It's not a business company, but it does have entities that could be used for the generation of income. So the projects we would apply if an entity is offering support for cultural preservation or economic development, as you're asking about, then the council has to apply. And that means that it requires people who have the skill to write a successful project proposal. That has specific skill set that's required. That doesn't mean you're going to get the project, but we submit project proposals in the hope that we would get those projects funded. Once you get a project, right? Once you get a project, so we've had projects associated, for example, with urban farming, or getting back into gardening, or helping to train community members to get back into farming, those type of things. So when you get a project, and UNDP GEF, which is the Global Environmental Facility, has been supportive in terms of us as stewards of our the spaces that are around us. So in one of those projects, we had to do an assessment of our communities to see what lands we occupy and what lands we had traditionally in our communities. So in Barranco, Punta Gorda, Georgetown, St. Bite, Hopkins, Dangriga, and how much of that we have lost over the years. So
I mentioned the thing of project because I think it's important for people to understand that right at this moment, there isn't anything major that the council has as income generation. But projects, when they are garnered, are specific to particular activities. So if you write a project and you want to do something, you have to do what you say you are going to do for that project, right? So the project that had to do with going back into farming or gardening, then there was training that was conducted. People from the various communities were invited to participate in training, and they were given seeds, they were given trays, they were given soil and things like that. There was a video that was created because once you have a project, you have to comply with the project, the details of that project, the budget of that project, whatever the project is supposed to do. And that was one of those areas that looked at economic development because farming was our traditional way of being self-sustaining, and getting our people back into farming is important to us as an organization because it's one of the areas where we are lacking as a people. We've moved away from the land. Not enough of us are engaged in farming anymore. So that specific project was to encourage Garinago to get back into farming.
How many members do you now have countrywide?
That's a difficult one to answer.
What about Dangriga, the Dangriga branch?
Well, let me explain the structure of the National Garifuna Council. So the council has branches established wherever Garinago are. All right, so there are 12 because we have Garinago in San Pedro, we have Garinago in Orange Walk, we have Garinago in Libertad, Belize City, Dangriga, Belmopan, San Ignacio. All of these places and our traditional communities all have a branch of the National Garifuna Council. And at that level, because it's the strength of the council is actually in the membership at the branch level. So,
but are you able to tell how many members do you have in the Dangriga branch? Because
in the Dangriga branch, we're actually involved in a recruitment exercise. So right at the moment, I personally can't tell you. The president would be the one to be able to give updates, but I know that that's one of the areas that we are focused on at the branch level.
So based on your estimation, I'm trying to get to a point here. Based on your estimation, how many members, if you could just give a wild guess? Of course, I won't hold you to it.
Right. Well, I would say in the range of 100 plus or minus. But remember, there would be more, but people aren't paid. These are not people that are paying their dues and all of that. It's a smaller number that's paying dues.
So,
right? And that's an important thing to talk about.
This is I would like to ask you more about that in just a bit. So here's the thing, right? You gave a brief history of the origin, how the National Garifuna Council was born. That's in, you said 1980.
81.
81. That would be 40, 41, 42 years.
Yes. Yeah, it's around the same age as the country.
So about 43 years. So the National Garifuna Council, NGC, is 43 years old.
Yes.
Right?
In terms of how long it has been in existence. When it
in
comes
terms
to,
of
yes, because remember there's the period of time of registration, and that was later on. But in terms of the entity coming into existence, the people gathering who decided that they wanted this organization to happen, well, that was from 1981.
1981, right. So what I'm trying to ascertain is this, right? I want to, I'll tell you this. Part of me had to detach myself from some preconceived ideas based on what people say and what I've heard over the years regarding NGC. I literally had to put myself in a position to say, you know what, this is just going to be me interviewing Ifa and chop it up and learn about what NGC is about, what NGC has been doing. So I'm saying all that, right, just to say, I wanna dig deeper into the age of NGC, and let's take a look at how beneficial is NGC for the Garifuna people. What has NGC accomplished that is really noteworthy in the 43 years?
Okay, before I attempt to answer that question, because you're asking me as if I'm an expert on the National Garifuna Council, and I wouldn't take that position. I wouldn't dare say that I'm an expert on the National Garifuna Council. I got involved in the National Garifuna Council when I was 14 in 1991, right? So what I know of the National Garifuna Council is based on my own participation in the organization. It isn't based on hearsay either. It isn't based on curiosity. It is based on me immersing myself into the organization because I liked what it stood for in terms of upholding Garifuna culture, right? And I still believe that that is what the organization does. And its success in doing that is dependent on Wagea Garinagu, because we are the National Garifuna Council. It's not some foreign entity, right? And it's not made up of foreigners or anything like that. It's made up of us. But I wanted to mention this because I don't think that this has been said enough. A lot of people don't even know this, right? So the people who were the founders, the people who were in the beginning of this organization, who are responsible for establishing it. We have Oscar Ramirez, Phyllis Caetano, Roy Caetano, Godsman Ellis, Fabian Caetano, Francis Arana Sr., Silas Caetano, Clarine Castillo, and then as the witness, we have Mr. Agustin Flores. Now, several of these names, they have transitioned to Cyril, right? But these were the people who established the organization. It's their names that are listed in the Articles of Association. Their names are on the record as being the ones to have established the organization, the 21st of September, 1987. That's the date of registration. So that's the official record at the company's registry. But like I said, I have been in multiple gatherings in which Mrs. Caetano has mentioned that it began in her kitchen, right here in Dangriga, right? So she and these individuals agreed to establish this organization.
It's interesting you brought that up. So when the average Dangrigana hear NGC, they always associate NGC with individuals,
yes.
Which is for the majority, right? And I think I will say I'll generalize, we have good reasons to feel that way. Now, here's my question to you. NGC has convention, what, every 3 years?
No, NGC's convention is annual. NGC
Annual.
has convention every year.
Every year. Okay.
Yes.
So when it comes to choosing the president or who will be in charge, do some of the originators or the original members,
the
founders, yes, do they have influence as to who is assigned whatever post?
Nobody can't be assigned a post. Let's be clear on that also. People don't get assigned a post. People get elected to a post. Do they have influence? Do our elders have influence even now on us? Yes. So to say that the founders have some level of influence, yes, they do, because they know more about the organization than any of us, than me, you, or anybody else, because they were there from the very beginning. Can they influence how people vote? Well, I don't know about that. right? Because only people who have been influenced could say, well, yes, Baba Roy could influence me or Tia Phil could influence me. I can't say how people are, or how do they go about making their decisions. What I know is that the way the structure is, each branch, the 12 branches I mentioned, they all have delegates that become a part of the board of the National Garifuna Council. And it is from that same body that the leadership is selected. So for you to get involved, if you want to be in the leadership of the National Garifuna Council, all you need to do is be a member of a branch, be active in that branch, be in the executive of that branch, be the delegate for that branch or the president for that branch, so that you can be on the board. And then being on the board means that you get to either offer yourself up for leadership, or you can vote for who becomes the leader of the National Garifuna Council. That's the way the organization is structured.
Has there ever been a time in past during an NGC election that there was a person who was likely qualified to take on, let's say, the role of the president, for the National Garifuna Council? Was there ever a time, based on your experience, that you realized that there were heavy influences, especially from founding members, to make sure that the individual who might have been more qualified assigned the post of the president?
Again, I can't speak for how people think. So I can't say that people were heavily influenced, but I can say that I have seen elections in which I would have expected particular individuals to have been successful, and I thought it would have been natural that those persons would have been successful, but they were not the ones that were voted into office. But that I wouldn't put that responsibility on any specific individual, certainly not the founders. If in fact the people who vote, the numbers, they only have 2 votes. The 2 founders that continue to be at meetings because they're able to be at meetings, that's only 2. When you're talking about a board that's made up of at least 2 people from each branch, that's 24 people. And there are other people that are involved who are co-opted members based on their areas of expertise that could be beneficial to the organization. That is how I ended up on the board, because I was co-opted since of my media experience allowed me to be able to assist with being in the committee for Hamalali NGC Radio. So everybody that's involved gets to cast their vote, and they get to decide of their own accord who they wish to support. For sure, people can say, well, I like this one better, or I think you should go with this one better. But just like with any election, you get to choose for yourself, because they're not the ones counting the ballots. They don't get to write the ballots. That's not what happens. It's whoever is in the executive at the time of an election. They are the ones responsible for managing the election at that time. So I could see that I know that people would say, well, these individuals have very strong influence. It could be true.
And you don't agree with that?
I agree that they have influence, yes, because of their years of experience with the organization. But like I say, we like to put responsibility on people and not take responsibility ourselves. And at the end of the day, I just gave you some of the numbers. We're talking about at minimum 24 people, in addition to these founders who are only 2 that remain active in the organization at this time. And they don't have a majority because they are only 2. So maybe we are assigning power where there is none.
I don't think so. I mean, in that we talked about influence earlier too. You know the amount of influence 2 people could pull. That could be a lot.
But then you're saying, you see, That's a dangerous thing, Uruwei, for
Why?
us to even make that, for us to make the assumption that our people do not have the capacity to think, because that means I want you to think about, I want all of us listening, I want us to analyze that perception that, first of all, it would mean that the people being elected at the branch levels, all these 12 branches, we are now saying that the people being elected to these positions in all 12 branches, that so many of them come to the board and they can't think for themselves, or they lean heavily to the opinion or guidance provided by 2 founders. This is true about us. And if that is the case, whose responsibility is that, or whose fault is that? Because they don't get to write your vote. You get to write your own vote. You get to cast your own vote.
I believe that there is politics everywhere.
Yes,
there is politics everywhere.
The same with partisan politics, Brawe.
No.
The politician is not with you when you have to cast your ballot.
Let me be clear, right? Categorically clear. There's politics in our homes. There's politics in organizations. And there's
because politics has to do with governance.
Yes, and there is politics as we know it as the UDP, PUP,
partisan. That's
partisan politics, right?
Yes.
So there's politics everywhere. Now, you have a very good explanation, great explanation, and I would just want to jump on that horse and keep riding in the direction that you're taking it. However, they have some hiccups that I am jumping to. Now, I am literally trying to call this for what it is. No kind of insinuation. Not because 2 individuals only have 2 votes out of 24 means that the 2 cannot influence the majority. And you know that certain people will pledge loyalty to individuals, to groups, right? And this brings me to our next subtopic. Now, the NGC has been around for 43 years.
Yes.
And why I'm asking all these questions, right? From the leadership to who's elected to what is the role of the NGC for 43 years, I want to assess, like, to go within and say, what has the NGC done to be in the position to hold that title, the leaders of the Garifuna people, right? The ones who steer us, who guide us. I am asking these questions because personally for myself and for many, many individuals, NGC, we give NGC too much credit. NGC is known nationally and internationally. That's the powerhouse of Garifuna or Garifuna the world. But I don't see the work that NGC, and this could be out of total ignorance. I don't see the hefty work that NGC has done or has been doing or is doing to merit that type of recognition and quote unquote power.
So you don't see a school where Garifuna is taught. You don't see Gulisi Primary School. And you didn't hear, you haven't heard of the National, of Hamalale, NGC Radio. And you are not aware of a museum. And you don't see cassava being planted at the monument site. And there are many things. There's a Pablo Lambe Cultural Center. You see, 43 years, there are many things that have happened over these 43 years. A Miss Garifuna pageant that happens annually. The only reason it's not happening the way it used to in the past is because we are still dealing with the aftermath of the COVID-19 pandemic. But we have to be careful when we say, well, I can't see what the NGC has done. You don't see all the people who received scholarships through the National Garifuna Council. Even if the National Garifuna Council did not have the funding to actually fund a scholarship, but it is through the recommendation of the National Garifuna Council that many Garinagu have a degree from the University of the West Indies, because that Sir Arthur Lewis Scholarship is for the indigenous people, and the National Garifuna Council gives recommendation every year for Garifuna students to go to the University of the West Indies and pursue their bachelor's degree. And there are many that have benefited from that. And there are other things that the council has also done. So it's actually something we would need to do some research on, those of us who are younger, who don't know all that has happened over these 43 years. But I could tell you, why did I decide to get involved in the National Garifuna Council? Because in 1991, when I was walking down the street in Belize City, I heard Garifuna drums, and this was Belize City. And I became interested because there was drumming happening. I got exposed to Garifuna culture, not because I was able to go to Barranco every year for the summer. My mom couldn't afford to do that. I got exposed to Garifuna culture in Belize City because Garinagu in Belize City were keeping Garifuna culture alive there.
All right.
So at the end of the day, while we might look at these individuals and think there is also a Garifuna dictionary, the Bible has been translated into Garifuna. There are, like I said, we need to organize in an organized way, document all that has been done in these 43 years to convince the people who don't know about the NGC, who are ignorant of all that has happened in the NGC, who are blind to what occurs every year. 19, you know who organizes the 19 activities? Uruwei, the parade to the church, the mass itself, and the ceremony. All those activities, those main ones that occur.
So Ifa,
it's the National Garifuna Council that does. I want to answer the question because you are asking me what the NGC has done. And what I'm telling you is what the NGC has done that I know of, and there is more. There is more. I don't even know everything.
Are you satisfied?
Am I satisfied?
Yes.
Yes. There is much more that the NGC can do. There is always the biggest room in any case is the room for improvement. So we might have these grand expectations, but Uruwei, the expectations cannot be met without us, without the people.
So let's talk about the serious. So Ifa, and thank you for the explanation. Very good explanation. Now, let's bump it up a notch. Let's look at the social, psychological, and economic state of Dangriga, right? Politically too. Dangriga is or supposed to be a Garifuna town, yes or no?
Yes.
Yes, Dangriga.
It was established as a Garifuna community. That's why its name is Garifuna.
Right. So Dangriga is a Garifuna town.
Yes.
Yes. Every election, now we're talking about partisans politics. Every election, we fall into the same trap. I call it a trap for many because we don't have nothing, right? Most of our people, they starve. Most of them work 2 jobs and still not the same ends meet. So when the time for election and now favors they get passed both left, right, and center, and money they get spent, where people perish, right? Because we end up to get leaders who not fit to lead with. Now, I'm saying all that again to say this. Dangriga is a Garifuna town. Do you think that NGC has done enough or is doing enough to educate the people of Dangriga to try to, especially when it comes to politics and who we place in leadership, right? Not only that, but all that will trickle down to how poor we are or how economically stable we are or can be. I think that NGC has a huge responsibility, but I personally believe that it hasn't been performing at its optimal, especially in today's day and age, and especially with the resources available.
What resources available are you speaking about?
Are you privy to
resources that you wait, because I like your question. I like your question for all the people that have those same questions. And what I would have to say and ask those same people, including yourself, have you ever been a member of the National Garifuna Council? And have you ever contributed to anything that the National Garifuna Council has done? I know that I saw you at our event earlier this year, our Garifuna Survival event. Again, something that NGC does. Our Exile Day and our Survival Day. Those events that help us to remember our tribute to TV Ramos, to remember the people, the sacrifices, the dates that are significant to our existence as a people. That too is done by the National Garifuna Council. That's not done by anybody else, right? But the question I have for all the people that have questions for the National Garifuna Council is, what have you done? What has been your contribution? Because the success of the National Garifuna Council is dependent on its membership. It's dependent on Garinago. Otherwise, people are expecting some great things from me, because I'm the first vice president.
That has to do with leadership, Ifa. That has to do with leadership. Of course.
Uruwei.
It has to do with leadership.
Because
listen,
do you know how many times I have been on my show? We have had a Sunkate NGC on Hamalale. We have had numerous talks on National Garifuna Council on the Garifuna Council radio station, Hamalale. This is a new thing that we have never done any of that. We have done no kind of education for the people. We have had no kind of educational discussion, no community meeting.
But that is, you're going
off
off track though. You're going off track.
No, I'm not going off track, Uruwei. I'm actually not going off track at all. Because I'm saying that people are holding the council accountable who themselves have not been accountable, because by virtue of not being involved in the NGC,
to whom much is given, much is required. Are you privy?
What much is given? Uruwei, what much is given? Because
let me finish.
The dues. Let's talk about dues, because you're saying to whom much is given, from where much is given.
Hear
from
me
whom?
out. Hear me out. Make I put things into context.
I'm loving this conversation, by the way, because we've had this privately, and I want the people to be hearing this conversation.
To whom much is given, much is required. Now, let me categorize much. Leadership. If you're a leader, to whom much is given, much is required. You as a leader, you will be privy to certain information or avenues that others might not be privy to. You as a leader, you are the one. You have this type of responsibility. So to whom much is given, much is expected. NGC, as I mentioned before, right, is the giant when it comes to that pillar, that beacon that you look up to when it comes to the Garifuna people. I'm almost done. No, in general, in our country, if you ask the Creole, the Maya, and a lot of Garifuna people, who is the representative of the Garifuna people, whether we like it or not, we are saying NGC. Whether I like it or not, whether I think the NGC is doing a good job or not, I will say NGC. To whom much is given, much is required. So, for the leaders of NGC to ask and say, what have you been doing? Let me ask you, what have you been doing in educating the Garifuna people and letting them know how important it is to be a part of NGC's, a part of this organization? What have the NGC been doing? And what does NGC has to show in doing that? To say, this is what we have, this is what we've accomplished, this is where we are, you need to join us. This will benefit you in this way it will be. I have a lot more to say about that, but let me give you the chance to respond.
All right. So we have a convention every year, Uruwei, that Garinago are welcome to attend. Like I said, the strength of the organization is dependent on its branches. So the engagement with Garinago is not on the executive. The engagement with Garinago is actually at the branch level. Garinago are spread across this country. So when Garinago want to be involved, they can get involved where they are, because there's a branch of the NGC in San Pedro, in Orange Walk, in Libertad, in Belize City, in Belmopan, in San Ignacio, Dangriga, Hopkins, St. Bite, Georgetown, Punta Gorda, Barranco, right? All of these communities where Garinago can be found, they have a branch of the National Garifuna Council, and it is at the branch level that Garinago can get involved in the council. The convention is a national event that Garinago now can come from all the branches to convene at the one location, right? This is a volunteer organization. So I want to stick a pin on where you say, to whom much is given, much is expected. And I can tell you that I have been given nothing, but I have been doing a lot of work that is free labor, because it is a volunteer organization.
But Ifa,
I want you to allow me to finish.
No, I know, but you're you're not answering my question at all.
Because you're saying, to whom much is given, much is expected, and I have given. I give of my time and my personal expertise.
You're not addressing the question.
Costly, and my
you're not addressing the
that's
question.
what I've given.
No, that's not what I asked, though.
But you said you wanted to know how we have educated. I'm telling you that I have a show on Wednesdays, and I educate the people on my show. It's on Hamalale. That's the National Garifuna Council radio station, bruh. That's where I have my show. That's the platform I use to educate my people. That's how I give.
What's your listenership?
I have no idea.
That you should know, because you should be able to quantify that. So what I'm asking you again, Ifa.
I have no idea, because
I'm asking you again, right?
Out of the love for doing it.
What is NGC doing? You say people complain. Quite frankly, I know too much negative about NGC than good. Is that my fault? No,
yes,
it's
that's
not.
Your fault.
Oh,
that's
my
your
goodness,
fault, Uruwei.
man.
That is your fault, Uruwei.
Okay.
Because have you, well, maybe I could say that this conversation is your personal effort to find out for yourself, right? So I won't give you the fault completely, but I know that many people that have the opinion that you are expressing, they don't know for a fact. They just know, they just think they know based on what they've heard, which is a problem with us as Garinago, because we run with things that are not factual.
But Ifa,
we run with it. We we carry a feeling or thought about something that has nothing to do with us. And I'm saying it because that has been the experience. No,
So-
have I had negative experience? You haven't asked me. Have I had negative experience with the National Garifuna Council? Yes. But I don't hold the name, the National Garifuna Council, accountable for experiences that I have had with individuals who held high position in the National Garifuna Council. There is a difference, Uruwei. But this reputation that the council has is based on people's personal experience with individuals that have served in the National Garifuna Council. Now, what good has it served the people, the Garinago, to hold against an organization that exists for the benefit of Garifuna people, to hold the personal grievances that individuals have against an entire organization, which means when I come into the organization, let me finish. When I come into the organization as the first vice president, now I have to bear the burden of, if Mr. Ellis Ibartaroon upset anybody, if Tia Phil upset anybody, if Baba Roy upset anybody, if Mr. Augustine Flores Ibartaroon upset anybody, if Mr. Silas Caetano Ibartaroon upset, now I must carry the burden of whoever was in there over these 43 years. I must now suddenly answer for them. One Uruwei.
Okay, so let me
I will not
inject. Let me
answer for
inject.
them.
Let me inject. I wasn't suggesting that you answer for anybody. I totally get that. But I want us to stick to the point, right? People expect NGC to be our savior for the Garinago, right?
And they do nothing. They are not in the organization.
Well, but
so
hold
how is
on,
that
man.
fair?
That's
How is that
NGC.
fair?
That's a fault on NGC.
No, it's not,
No,
Uruwei.
it is, because
no, it is
if
not.
you
No, it's
if
not.
you are, listen, NGC is a business, you know.
Is it?
It's a business. You have business transactions happening in NGC. Yes or no?
How is that so? How is
In
that so?
NGC, you guys receive funds. Yes?
That's NGO funding. That's
Okay.
not business funding.
Okay, but
There's
hold
a
up, man.
difference. You
No,
know
no, no,
this.
no.
This is
Listen,
not
man.
a private entity that can do what it wants with the funds.
Let me clarify.
Project funds are for specific tasks.
Let me
That's
clarify.
project funds.
Let me
Yes,
clarify.
please. No
Any-
GST on those.
Any exchange is business. Any exchange. I understand what you're saying. Any exchange. I'm talking about in the context of
Careful.
exchanging.
I want
No,
you
no.
to be careful with your expression, brah, because our people
Well-
will run with it in their
Well,
ignorance.
it could
So
be for
clear.
business. It could be for business in
clear.
that kind of way too. I mean, people entitled to their speculations.
No,
Right?
but we should get away from that. Shouldn't we
So-
avoid speculating?
Yes,
because
we
what
should.
good has speculation done to us?
But hold up, right? Hold up.
Yes.
Ifa,
Uh-huh.
if NGC is responsible for the Garifuna people in educating the people, you can't complain and say that, oh, they're not donate, they're not contribute, they're not do this.
It's responsible for that, Uruwei.
No,
Who said that?
No, because you guys have to at least launch campaigns, so educational campaign. And what I want to, I don't want to, beat this up too much, but where I would like to take this is here, right? We spend a lot of time. I can't say we because I don't know part of NGC, but look at the state, as I have mentioned, in Dangriga. Look at what we're going through politically, economically.
Yes. Yes.
Why has NGC never stood up for the Garifuna people politically?
What do you mean by that, Uruwei? Has never stood up for the Garifuna people politically. What do you mean? Do you mean we should have started our own political party? What do you mean? We should have stood up against political parties on our people's behalf? What do you mean? Clarify, please.
So, not too long ago, we have my brother Domingo, who ran up right?
Uh-huh.
The way how
So
the
you're talking
country,
about within the People's United Party,
within
People's
with the
United Party
table,
Convention.
yeah. Now, we know in so many constituencies that the people are dissatisfied. They don't want a current era rep. When Garifuna put itself to represent the people, more than one Garifuna, I know here was quick for NGC. And as a matter of fact,
because the NGC doesn't speak on partisan politics, Uruwei, it's not anything in the mandate of the organization.
It
NGC
should be
has
though.
nothing. Why?
Because politics affect us tremendously.
Yes, but Garinago have
No,
a
but
choice.
in a situation like that,
Garina would making their own exercising their constitutional rights.
No, what I'm saying,
be careful, be fair in what you're
I
in
am,
terms of expectation.
but let me clarify. Listen, what organization like NGC, I believe it should also be your responsibility to make sure that Garinago, in a whatever dimension, whatever department of life, economics, politics, we should always be treated fairly as Garinago. Garinago, yada Dangriga, whether than me or anybody else, would have been ready for a change from our current era rep. When that gone down, you know, hear nothing. That like, we know that this is not what we want, but we can't even comment. And the very head of NGC is one of them who propelled for the other the current era representative to stand to hold this position.
You're talking about Sheena Zuniga?
No, I'm not talking about no Sheena Zuniga.
Then you need to be specific, bruh. You can't speak in general terms. Do not do that. Because that's what Garinago are guilty of. They speak in general terms. They don't know who they talk about. The president of the National Garifuna Council is Sheena Zuniga.
No.
So who are you talking about? Because I don't know her to be involved in any partisan politics in Dangriga or anywhere for that matter.
For the record,
know of that.
For the record,
who are you talking about?
For the record, I am not talking about Sheena Zuniga. For the record,
well, be
specific, for the record, I am talking about one of your very own elders who have deep-rooted ties, tentacles within NGC. If I talk about Sheena Zuniga, I have no problem addressing Sheena. So
then if you're going to speak about a leader, then make we be otherwise people will make assumptions.
Make we be serious about this. Granted,
yes,
right? Granted.
I know this.
Listen to me.
Make we laugh about nothing. Uruwei.
No. I want to make this clear. Yes, you're pressing me to be specific. Good. I already clarified. When it comes to the politics, I believe, for example, has NGC sold land to any entity or individual?
No, not that I am aware of.
Has NGC
as an organization just ensured that its properties are registered?
Has NGC ever tried stop or get between a transaction to acquire Carib reserves?
I do not know of that.
The answer is no. And it's not that they weren't knowledgeable. So my thing about this, right? If NGC...
But who is they that you're referring to? Because I am saying that to you. I'm saying this to you, Uruwei. Who are you referring to? Because, like I asked earlier, am I to answer for any error that any past president or executive member of the National Garifuna Council made? And is it reasonable to hold me responsible for anything that they did?
I not hold you responsible. I am holding... I am holding...
What are you talking about? When you speak of the National Garifuna Council, what are you talking about? Because I am the first vice president of the National Garifuna Council, and you are talking about intervening in the sale of Carib Reserve, and I know nothing about that.
Okay, good. So
who are you talking about? Which year?
Hold on.
Under whose presidency? Under which executive? Under whose leadership?
Ifa, all that doesn't matter at this point.
It does matter.
Let me be clear.
It does matter.
Let me be clear. All that doesn't matter at this point. Why?
Matter.
I'll explain why. You're not here as a guest as Ifa. You're here as a guest, as a representative of the National Garifuna Council. That's the only capacity you're here in. Not as Ifa. So,
but I am a member of the National Garifuna Council.
Yes.
I cannot separate myself from that.
Ifa, come on, man. Come on.
No, Uruwei. No. When I answer to you, I am answering in what is reasonable for me to respond. You respond.
No,
I cannot tell you something I don't know.
Okay,
Uruwei.
so if you don't know, then fine. You could say don't know, but don't excuse yourself under the plea of crucify me for my forefathers.
But yes, I will say
evil.
that.
No, man.
I don't care who doesn't like it. I will say that you will not hold me responsible for what people have done in the past. I will never accept the responsibility.
This is my point. That you as a representative, that you as an individual.
But I am in the organization voluntarily, Uruwei, and what I am saying, based on what people have said of the organization, I am making legitimate responses to your questions.
By the way, did NGC support the Mayas when they were fighting or still fighting for their land rights? Why?
Because I know the Mayas did approach the executive members at the time that they were engaged in their fight, and the decision made at the time by those who were in power at the time was that they would choose instead to go the diplomatic route, not the legal route. And the Mayas decided to go the legal route.
So why the NGC chose the diplomatic route? And what does that mean? I mean, I know what diplomatic means, but flesh that out for me.
Because the National Garifuna Council, those who were in power at that time, decided that they would prefer to negotiate with government, to work from a position of goodwill, rather than going from a confrontational position and taking a legal battle to court.
And that's what I'm saying.
That was the decision made at that time.
But who made that decision?
The people who were in leadership at that time, Uruwei, and I wasn't it.
So in other words,
I wasn't the one.
In other words, the National Garifuna Council did not support the Mayas.
That isn't true. How do you come to that conclusion?
From what you said to me,
support the Maya?
You said
if the National Garifuna Council did not decide to take legal action, how do you conclude automatically that it also means they did not support the Maya?
All right.
How is that? How
so
is one the same as the other?
You either didn't finish what you were about to say, or if you did, then what I gathered from what you say or what you said is NGC, the Mayas wanted to go to court.
Yes.
Right? You said that NGC decided to take a diplomatic approach. And I ask you, what does that encapsulate? What's a diplomatic approach in this context?
That means negotiating with government.
Right?
Going
Okay, negotiating.
With government, signing a memorandum of understanding with government.
Good.
The Mayas didn't want to do that. They decided they would go to court.
So you decide, so NGC decide that they just, do you think, in your opinion, going to court you wouldn't advise it? Would you stick to the diplomatic route?
But that now the position of the National Garifuna Council is to take legal action. At the time, that wasn't the route they took.
So is the National Garifuna Council supporting the Mayas at this point?
The Mayas already took their matter to court and won. This has nothing, they don't require the support of NGC anymore because they have gone ahead with their case and won.
So wait, you just said something that the National Garifuna Council is now going to court. Or did I miss?
The National Garifuna Council has over the past few years been looking at the legal route to address our land rights issues, because like I said, we went the route of goodwill, of diplomacy. We've signed a memorandum of understanding with the government. We are holding the government to that memorandum of understanding. And if the government does not comply with that, then the only place to make our case is in court. And NGC has been in dialogue about that for the past few years.
For how long? What's few years?
I'm talking before the pandemic.
So that's before the whole Maya land rights thing too then?
No, the Maya land rights is before that. It's before the pandemic.
Why do I feel like that's just, what, 2-3 years ago?
No. No.
All right.
The
So,
Maya land rights case is not a new development.
so if what would you say to the individuals that you referenced earlier, the ones who do not contribute, like you said, are not members? Talk to the people. What would you say to them to encourage them to come over to NGC, become a member? Why should they become a member?
Uruwei, you mentioned earlier that the National Garifuna Council is the only organization in Belize that is nationally recognized by the state and by the population as the representative of Garinagu. If we as Garinagu truly want to be well represented, if we truly want to see an organization that functions to the best of its capacity in our interests, then the way for that to happen is for us to be involved. And I say this because that is the reason I am involved. Not because I am gaining from it personally, but because I want to see achievement for our people. I want to see progress for our people. And I know that the organization has the capacity to make that happen. There is support that is needed. More Garinagu need to be involved in the National Garifuna Council in order for the NGC to have the power that we speak so highly of. But that power is not real without the people. And that is something that we must recognize seriously as a people. So if it is that we truly want to hold the NGC responsible, then that starts with self. That starts with us getting ourselves engaged in the organization to ensure that it is functioning in the way that it was intended when it was established, for and in the best interest of Garinagu. It can only be successful in doing that with your participation. We have to do it together. It's important for us to be involved in order for it to happen. We cannot look at the NGC as if it's some mythical entity, if it's some abstract entity. NGC is you and NGC is me. We are the National Garifuna Council, so get involved. If we want to see progress and we want the activities that continue to be done and we want more to be done, then we must be the ones to put ourselves in there. Otherwise, it's unreasonable for us to expect anything to happen when we do not involve ourselves.
What I would like to see more of is NGC defending Garifuna Duo in every aspect. Here in Dangriga, in Belize overall, we have been.
You mean you want us to be making more public statements? Because if you search for me online, you see so many times I've been on the news on behalf of the NGC defending Garinagu.
Well,
so is that what you're talking about?
Of course. Evidently, I am not aware of it. I hardly see anything or hear anything regarding public statement that the NGC would release. But I would like to see more of standing up for the Garifuna people. It seems like NGC is just a grand shadow in the background. That's really and truly how it seems.
Uruwei, I have a question for you.
Sure.
Do you think that I, Ifásínà Efunyemi by myself, can stand up for Garifuna people in the name of National Garifuna Council and be successful in doing so? If I had to face the Prime Minister, would I be successful by myself, Uruwei?
Alone, maybe not.
No maybe about it. I will not be successful without the support of my people, Uruwei. As eloquent as I might be, as passionate as I might be, and certainly I know that I have the support of my ancestors with me, but I need the living to be with me also. Otherwise, it is unreasonable for the living to expect me to stand up to the Prime Minister on their behalf, and then no one, when I look behind me, is with me. That is unreasonable. So if we want change, I am all for change, Uruwei. This is my life. This is what I do. But if I don't have the backing of my people, then I am just a voice in the wilderness. If my people do not support me, and if it is so easy for my people to sit in criticism of me, to speak negatively of me, but not in support of me, to not be willing to stand by me, beside me, behind me, in front of me, with me, then don't expect me to be your hero. I am not Jesus. I am not Jesus. That you go to church for that one. Go and expect the church. Expect that of the church. Go and expect it of the political party that you support so die hard, right? Blood blue or blood red. That I would say to our people. But if we truly want to rally behind the black, white, and yellow, I'm all for that.
I still maintain that there's more NGC can do to make that happen.
Of course, Uruwei, I agree with you.
A lot more.
Of course, and we would be able to do a lot more with more of us involved.
But that's
like Marley, like everybody listening and viewing.
That defeats the point of saying what I was saying. NGC.
No, it doesn't,
Uruwei.
NGC is all of us, Uruwei.
Okay.
Otherwise, you are just out there being one of the naysayers. You are
No.
You're useless to me if you are all only going to complain about NGC, but you are not going to be involved to help with improving the organization. Then, because you're not helping the situation.
What I'm suggesting to you, if NGC you say we don't have 100 members, that Dangriga, more or less, right?
That's speculation. That's we should have
more or less. You have 100 members.
Should be in NGC, Uruwei.
All right. So this is where they say Ifa. Hold on, man. This is where they say. We don't have about 100 members at the Dangriga level, Dangriga branch. It is NGC's responsibility for those of you who put on yourself in a leadership position.
Yes.
Then you got to do the work. You gotta make sure that you do what needs to be done to convince people, to let them know that this is important. But
I didn't send you the flyer with the bank account inviting you to join the NGC, Uruwei. You didn't see it on my WhatsApp status. You didn't see it on my story on Facebook.
I did not.
Did I not invite you?
I did not. I
will send it to you again, Uruwei.
You say on just to start doing thing, man.
No, we did not just start doing that, Uruwei.
When you send it, when you send it,
we didn't just start doing that because
but when did you send it?
That was happening
today?
from earlier this year.
How come you just send it to me?
No, I'm not just sending it to you. I'm telling you that from earlier in this year, what we did when we became the new executive is each and every one of us engaged in the recruitment drive. If you check the National Garifuna Council Dangriga branch page, you will see the flyers there.
All right,
we have been pushing for Garifuna to join the organization.
Listen, there's a lot more that can be done. There's a lot more that should be done.
Definite.
But I think NGC needs to show up for the Garifuna people more. And
you want me to show up more, Uruwei?
NGC.
NGC. Who is NGC?
NGC.
Who is NGC?
Are you privy to share? Can you share how much does the government of Belize give NGC every year?
$60,000 Uruwei annually.
So 60 NGC gets 60,000. And what are you gonna do with that 60,000 in a year?
That has to pay for the maintenance of the Gulisi. That has to pay for the maintenance of Pablo Lambe. We have to pay for the internet, air, light, water. That has to pay for, like I told you, our lands are now registered. That has to pay for all of that. Then we also give every single branch a portion of it for the Garifuna Settlement Day activities. Small portion.
That one side, yeah.
It's only $60,000, right?
So
that cover that we have to use out of it for our annual convention. We have to use out of it for our 19th of November activities. That is all we have is the $60,000. Now we should be able to multiply that, but we need more people involved in order for that to happen.
Ifa, I know 60 G's are not much, but with 60 G's,
not much. Not pretend like please now start talk like a lot of money, because it's not. You know how much?
I agree, it's not much.
It's $1,000 just to pay for the license annually for Hamalale. $1,000.
All right. I mean, so that leaves you with 59 G's. Right? We're not doing a breakdown right now, but I am saying with 60 G's, you are telling me there is no way NGC could figure out part of that money there to invest and turn that wrong, or try to create something that will stimulate the economy for the Garifuna people. Out of 60
you come in,
Gs.
bruh. Directly, so you come in.
Right there,
That's
why?
the reason why we need Garinago who have the skill. If you have the skill, you know how to make investment. You know the direction that you could help the organization to lean to. Come and be a co-opted member of the board. Join the organization.
I don't have that kind of faith in the NGC. If I'll be honest.
What is it your business to tell NGC what NGC must do with the $60,000?
I know they tell them what they do. I am inquiring. I am asking where people.
Even say anything. You
listen,
I've lost. What do with their money?
I've lost with the other Garifuna, you know, only represent me whether or not either a member or not. You know, have to represent me as a Garifuna.
Is that a fact? Is that a fact, Uruwei? Really?
So NGC, that's not for everybody. So it's because somebody not joined, they're not entitled or they can't receive the benefits of what the NGC has to offer. Or no get
Uruwei, you know, anything we have is open to Garinago. We not ask if you're not a member for God and nothing what we have.
Okay, then that's my point, Ifa.
So Garinago benefit from anything that the NGC does.
So
whether they're the members or not.
60 Gs. They're not only that 60 Gs uno get every year. They have other revenue stream. Uno get other
Uruwei, the only money that comes to NGC other than that 60 Gs is project funds. And we have made investment in BTL. So I think sometimes, depending on when they're paying out, we get debentures, and that's not a whole lot of money either. But are there more opportunities for us to generate income? Of course, Uruwei. But we need the people with the skill set to do it. And let me say this, Uruwei. Please let me say this. Because this high expectation that people have of the National Garifuna Council, I keep mentioning the fact that we are volunteers, that everybody on the executive and in the board has to be working people, because NGC doesn't pay us to do the work that we do. I am here defending NGC. I'm not getting paid to do that. This Zoom account is mine. I pay for it personally.
You should.
It's through this Zoom account that I am able to have my radio show every Wednesday night on Hamalale. That is personal. That's my personal contribution.
You should get paid.
Yeah, but Uruwei, from what? They say $60,000. That's why I forget paid from Uruwei.
But that's the thing, though.
With all the time and the resources.
So for how long NGC to get a $60,000?
This just got reinstated recently, because at first, in fact, it went down since the pandemic, but I can't tell you how long we've been getting the subvention, and then it gets increased. But like I said, it's distributed across the branches, Uruwei.
Still, Ifa, still, I'm
stay
saying,
with Dangriga
so,
branch.
so NGC does
across the
nothing else.
branches.
So NGC does nothing else to strengthen the organization and the community economically. So no just depend for the 60 Gs.
For now, I mean, there are more things that we could be doing and want to be doing, Uruwei, but I'm going to be real with you. I am a teacher. That is how I pay my bills. I do a lot of work for the National Garifuna Council. It's free work. The president, like everybody, all away. We are working people. We have to be working in order to survive. It's our jobs that pay our bills. But everything we do for the National Garifuna Council is our own personal resources, Uruwei.
There was an agreement or something of that sort that was signed not too long ago at Niche. What was that?
Yes, that has to do with the museum and the House of Culture in Dangriga. So it's an agreement between between Niche and the NGC regarding the House of Culture.
What is the agreement?
I haven't read the document, so I can't tell you the details of the document. We are supposed to have a board meeting this coming Saturday, and I guess they will share that document with us at that time.
Okay, there will be some type of monetary contribution from Niche for this initiative. I'm assuming.
Yes, because that would pay for someone to be there to keep the museum open and covering again light, water, the upkeep of a facility, cleaning around the area, cleaning the building itself. There's a cost, and $1,000 is not enough to do it, right? But like I said, I don't know the details of the MOU, so I have to wait to see that to know the details. But it costs, all these that we have, the assets that we have, it costs to maintain our assets. That's what I'm saying. The more people that we can get involved, more Garinagu who genuinely want to contribute to the forward movement of the organization, those are the people we welcome to the organization. Otherwise, the people who are just going to be naysayers, well, at the end of the day, you are useless to the organization because the organization is not going to get uplifted from the negative criticism. It can only be uplifted if more people. I would like some help, for example. I want people to come and help me with investing in Hamalali so that it can be up and running and doing what it's supposed to do. And I can't use my resources to buy the transmitter and put up a pole and fix the building and all of that. Even the council itself, the $60,000, we could use that just for Pablo Lambe building alone. And then none of the branches will get money for 19th. And you know what Garinagu would do to it if we don't give no contribution for 19 pesos.
Yeah, but it still baffles me that's what you guys depend on for nationwide, $60,000.
But the branches all have their own accounts. The branches have their own financial independence, Uruwei. Branches are free to raise their own funds. And what we distribute is simply out of this subvention so it trickles down to Garinagu across the country. But the branches, they have the freedom to raise funds all year round. And the council itself, the executive, the board, does not interfere in the finances of the branches. Maybe that's something we should reconsider. But really and truly, the branches are free to raise the funds they need and see fit for their activities throughout the year. We just make that one contribution out of the subvention so that subvention is spread across the country to Garinagu in the various branches of the council.
So you guys don't do anything to raise funds on the local level, the branch level?
At the branch level, yes. We do have activities in Dangriga branch at the for fundraising. Right now we are that's something that the executive is talking about, because we have activities that we're planning for the Garifuna Settlement Day celebrations that we want to use as means of generating income.
I want to, yeah, somebody here said, oh, I missed it.
I see Marley
It
asking
says, yeah,
about the
how
map.
can Garifuna get a copy of the map from the demarcation of the Garifuna territory that was done by NGC?
The maps are right now being preserved. Well, they are in safekeeping because we're looking at a legal matter, and we need that for addressing the legal matter. In terms of mass producing the maps, that is another conversation to be had, because again, of course, there's a cost associated with mass producing those maps, right? But for now, I mean, and the main reason they were generated, they were created, why that project happened, was so that we would be able to utilize those maps as evidence for our case, right? So that's the situation right now with the maps. They're not in a public domain at this time. That will likely happen down the road, but for now, they are being used specifically to address our land rights case.
But don't you think Garinago should have that knowledge, should know, should have that type of information?
In each community, these maps were presented. People maybe didn't attend when the time that it was, but
no, but
it will
I mean,
happen. If it will happen eventually, Uruwei. But for now, the maps are being used for the legal case, so they are not in a. It's not at Pablo Lambe building, for example. It's not in one space. There is no one space where the maps are, and we are not going to be producing copies for this individual and that individual and the other individual. But I could see with some initiative where, again, we could go back to the communities to present the maps, because the maps were presented to communities.
But
and
shouldn't
that was
I
on
mean,
the branches to promote that to the membership
is there
in their communities.
is there, or what I should ask, why is there a hesitation to make it public?
There isn't a hesitation, Uruwei.
No, but then you just said that it was presented to the communities, but now it's being used for legal actions, so to speak.
Yes, Uruwei, because the original
So if I want to,
the original copies are packaged for the attorney.
So there's no other copy apart from the original?
I don't know, because I don't have a copy of the maps. But I'm not saying that it's not impossible for the maps to be made available, but that will take some time and preparation. I think that's understandable, right? That maps are not just floating around just like that. That it takes an effort to actually produce a map in a smaller version that can be mass produced. That's an effort, because these maps are huge. That's what the project paid for, huge maps. So to get them into a smaller version, that's another financial effort that would have to be made. And I'm saying that effort would be made eventually, but it's not a priority now, because those maps are being used for our legal case.
What's the size of the map?
Bigger than a poster.
Poster have different sizes. 18 by 24 inches. 36 by 48 inches, 3 feet.
I would say maybe the size of that flag that you have behind you there.
So this is about 3 feet by 3 by, actually 4 by 3, 4 feet by 3 feet.
They're huge. The maps they're huge. I saw the one for Dangriga, and that's a huge map.
Because in this digital age, that shouldn't be something hard to copy. I'm just saying, I don't see why it has to take a lot of effort to get a copy of the map.
What would it explain in your technical terms? You're a technical person. What would it take to mass produce a map the size of that flag to a smaller size? Where would it have to be done, and what would it cost for it to be done?
First and
Your
foremost,
technical knowledge. Your technical knowledge.
First and foremost, if the map has been digitized, which I am almost certain for it to be printed, it has to be digitized. Once that
Okay,
is
so that's step number one. That's step number one. It has to
yeah,
be digitized.
And I'm almost sure if they had to print it to give to the attorney, it's digitized. Had to have been digitized. So because it's already digitized, that could be converted to a PDF document.
Yes. Okay. To what? 8.5 by 11.
It doesn't matter. And if for those who are interested in getting a copy, like Marley was just asking, a soft copy, electronic copy could just be sent. Here it is. And then if he want to print it, I'm sorry?
I didn't say anything.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and if he want to print it, then he just go ahead and print it.
Well, I would suggest then that he writes an email to the National Garifuna Council at gmail.com. That's the official email of the National Garifuna Council. And that, or he can actually raise that concern with the executive members of his branch, whichever branch he's a part of.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's good that other Garinago know, right? This is valuable information. And it's
not the first time we're sharing it, Uruwei. It's not the first time.
Well, this is what I'm saying though. When you're about to share something or you're disseminating information, a campaign needs to go with that. You can't just, I don't know what NGC does or the organizers do when it's time to share such valuable information. But I mean, what do you guys do? You just come out and say
we depend on the like I said, Uruwei, the success of the organization is dependent on its branches. So when the map was being presented in Dangriga, the Dangriga branch executive was aware. The Dangriga branch executive was responsible for promoting in the Dangriga branch when this presentation was going to take place. And that was the case in all the other branches, right? That where this exercise was done, which was the traditional Garifuna communities, Dangriga, Hopkins, Georgetown, Saint-Bite, Barranco, and Punta Gorda. And so at the branch level, what needed to happen was that the people from the branch needed to mobilize within their branch. So when the map came there, that the community was present to see the map and engage in discussion around the map. But we have had other discussions. We had Zoom meetings and things like that. We asked people to come to meetings. I'm sure that Marley has been in one or two of those meetings.
All right,
also.
Ifa, but I just want to maintain that, again, if somebody like Marley, somebody like myself, want to see the map, NGC should have it readily available as Garinago.
Readily available where?
Well, in whatever platform.
Meaning, I want you to be specific. You mean that since you are saying to me now on this show that you want to see the map for Dangriga, that I should be able to send you an email with the map for Dangriga? Yes? Because we don't have a website. There is no website for us to send it, right? To put it on, to post it on. Maybe we could post it on our Facebook page. Right? And I want to also ask, is that going to maybe threaten a possibly successful case on our land rights if we expose what evidence we have?
Well, that's the thing. Again, right? When the question
would it be prudent for us to do that?
When the question was first broached, if you had said this in the beginning, that it could likely affect, the legal process, then of course I would be like, oh, okay, that makes sense. So you're just mentioning this now, and it's not like.
I did say that the map is being. I did
no,
say
you
the map
did.
For the attorney. I did
you
say
did
the
say
map
that.
Being preserved for the
You
legal
did say that.
case, right?
But yes, you did say that.
I said it multiple times. So now I'm raising the question since it hasn't, it maybe was not a thought. But I am asking, could it jeopardize our case?
I don't know.
Exposing our evidence.
I don't
to
know.
the
It's
public
something.
domain.
It's something to definitely consider. I don't know. It's a valid point to consider. That I will say. Right. But before all this,
Because we know that we have
apart
lost
from
a
all
lot
this,
of our lands, right? You and I know that we have lost a lot of our lands in all of our communities.
how can one follow up on that case as to where it's at, where it's going?
I said, please write an email to the National Garifuna Council at gmail.com or approach your executive, the representative of your branch on the board should be able to bring that question to the board so that information can be taken back to the branch. There's a chain. Use the chain. Work the network that we have in the organization. Every community where Garinago can be found has a branch of the National Garifuna Council. San Pedro, Orange Walk, Libertad, Belize City, Dangriga, Hopkins, St. Bite, Georgetown, Punta Gorda, Barranco, San Ignacio, Belmopan. All of these communities have a branch of the National Garifuna Council and members that represent the branch on the board of the National Garifuna Council. And the way to get involved is to activate in your branch. Where you are, you can join the branch there. You can be involved there.
Ifa, we covered quite a lot, and like most or all of our conversations, it seemed like we always have to have a part two. I went over the time. It's now 10 o'clock. Usually it's from 8:30. Yes,
Oh,
I'm not
my
8:30
goodness.
actually. Usually I allow myself to go no later than 9:30, usually 1 hour. But it's always good having you, man. And I know we will catch up again. And for those,
joy.
yeah, man, and for those listening, Ifa will be back again. I don't know what the topic will be yet, but it's always good to sharpen iron. You know what I mean? Any last words before I hit this end button?
I am pleased that we are able to discuss these things in a space where our constructive dialogue could be heard. It's long overdue that we have more and more of these type of conversations, and I want to continue to reiterate that the change we want to see, we have the capacity to make those happen, not by expecting anything of anybody else, but of ourselves, that we could do our part, each of us, to make things change and to make things better. So rather than sitting aside and looking at what this one is doing or what that one is doing or what NGC is not doing, I would like for our people to start to focus on what we are doing and what we can do, each of us, to improve our state as a people. And if we each take that responsibility seriously and start doing it, we're going to see the change that we do want to see. Ceremony.
Ifa ban the ceremony. Folks, this is Cyril Uruwei out Uruwei. This is Dangriga Unmuted on UBAFUtv Live. This is every Monday at 8 p.m. sharp. So feel free to join me. Tell your friend to tell their friend, families. Ban the ceremony in Ebese.